More information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org and visit us online at oneonone.org.
You are looking at a shot of Midtown Manhattan, more specifically the studio that we are in, WNET Studios at Lincoln Center. You saw what's going on outside. That's just to prove that we are here, and we've got a great production going one-on-one here at Lincoln Center. We've got Matt Michaelish, fascinating guest, who's the author of a book called Jack Blank and the Imagination, right?
The Imagination.
You screwed me up on that. I mean, you can see it right there. You don't need me to tell you. You can see the cover of the book right there. What's the whole deal here? Because there's a character, right? His name is?
His name is Jack.
How old is he?
He's 12 years old. His name's Jack Blank, and his name's Jack Blank because he doesn't know anything about who he is or where he's from. He was found on the doorstep of this orphanage.
Where?
In New Jersey. It's actually built on a swamp next to the turnpike.
St. Barnaby's.
St. Barnaby's Home for the hopeless, abandoned, forgotten, and lost.
Nice.
Yeah, even worse. Every year it sinks a little bit further into the swamp, and they just keep building new roofs and new floors on top. They can't fix it, but they stay.
And so this guy, you know, by the way, go out and buy the book, folks, because it's a fascinating story. We have an 8-year-old who's loving it right now. By the way, you said it's for 9 to 12?
Yeah, about 8 to 12 years old. But really, you know, I think it's the kind of thing where, you know, it can cross over to adults, so they're going to find themes that they can relate to as well. It's a lot of fun.
But here's the thing. This kid, okay, Jack takes a test, takes an aptitude test. What's his potential? Takes the number 2 pencil out. He does the whole test at the orphanage, and they tell him what? You're going to be a what?
They tell him his career is going to be that of a toilet brush cleaner.
A toilet brush cleaner.
Which he's not very excited about, understandably enough.
What does he do?
Well, luckily for him, a robot zombie comes out of the swamp and tries to kill him. And
that's lucky.
That's the lucky thing that happens to him, because after that somebody comes and says, well, you're developing superpowers, and we need to take you with us to the Imagination, which is a secret country in the world filled with superheroes, supervillains, ninjas, aliens, robots, anything you might find in a comic book world. This is where all those fantastic and unbelievable things in our world originate, including Jack. So this is where he's from. And when he gets there, he gets to step into the comic book world that he's always read about. There was his one kind of like bit of enjoyment he had in that orphanage.
Comic books.
Comic books. It was his escape that fired his imagination.
Little projection there. You were obsessed with comic books as a kid. You still are.
Still am, absolutely.
Go ahead. By the way, all this stuff was going on in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
This is your idea. You imagined it.
This is my imagination from when I was a kid. I used to draw my own superheroes and my own supervillains, and I would, you know, read a comic book, get inspired by that, come up with my own superheroes, and just keep drawing, coming up with stories.
So tell me what goes on with this kid.
Well, when he gets the Imagination, more trouble, because of his particular brand of superpowers. People think he's either going to be the biggest hero the world's ever seen or the worst villain. And the adventure for Jack is really dealing with that and hopefully coming to understand that his future is about what he thinks rather than what other people say.
What do you mean?
Well, it's really up to him. You know, that's the message for kids reading this story, really for anybody reading the story, is that, you know, your future's up to you. Other people may say you're going to be this, or your future is going to be that. This is all you're capable of. But really, the choice in the end is yours, and that's what hopefully Jack kind of understands as he goes through the Imagination.
It's interesting because beyond all the superhero and the villain thing, which you're into big time, right?
Absolutely.
Because you have kids, your guy's turning 2?
Turning 2 in a week.
And you got another kid?
I got another one on the way in April.
So this is important for those of us who are parents,
yes,
who are often, when our kids say they want to do something, whatever that is, I mean, it seems to me there's some advice there.
Yeah, when I was writing the book, you know, it was really important to me, you know, writing a story for kids, you know, I wanted there to be some kind of message that underlied the whole thing. And not in a preachy way, but, you know, just in a way that's really positive to say, you know, your life is in your hands. You can do what you want. And, you know, I think about, you know, the kind of person, you know, if a kid raises his hand in school and says, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up, you don't tell him the reasons he can't be an astronaut.
You know how hard it's going to be an astronaut?
It's going to be incredibly hard. But you know,
be a baseball player. You know what the odds are?
Exactly. I want to be a writer. I want to be an artist. You know, when I was growing up, you know, I was lucky. I had really supportive parents who told me to kind of, you know, keep doing it, but they wanted me to take the safe path, and I did, and I got a regular job, but I never gave up on my dream. I always kept writing.
And the dream was to write these books.
The dream was to write these books, and I've got plenty more. It's a first in a trilogy, and I'm going to keep writing these books until as long as people keep buying them.
And potentially there's a movie here.
Well, we hope. You know, like people have reached out to us, you know, and you know we're talking to them, but we're going to kind of make sure we're doing the best deal we can.
And is there a Harry Potter type thing going on here?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair because there's lots. Harry Potter is definitely a big inspiration. It's a fantastic story that really kind of revolutionized, I think, reading for children, and we got all these kids excited about reading, which is awesome. But it's a classic hero archetype of this hero who doesn't know anything about his past, but has this potential part he's going to play in this big conflict, and he's got maybe a superpower or something special about him. That's the story of Luke Skywalker. That's the story of Harry Potter. That's the story of Percy Jackson. You see these.
Is that predictable for you?
No, because I think you can always take these concepts and turn them on their heads. There's these forms and these kind of rules of storytelling, but it's what you do with it and how you tell it that makes a story great. Great example. My favorite book in the world, Count of Monte Cristo.
The Count of Monte Cristo.
Very simple revenge story. This person is wronged. He gets to come back as this rich, brilliant person and take revenge on his enemies. But what was done with that story, it was so amazing, which is why we're still reading it so many years later. It's all in the execution of the telling of the tale.
Let me ask you, obviously you love what you do, and one of the things we love about this is bringing in people who are so passionate about what they do. What do you hope for Jack moving forward?
Well, Jack.
The kid's only 12.
Yeah, and he's got a pretty tough road ahead of him. I mean, he's got to learn how to basically either be a hero or accept this future that people are kind of putting on him as a villain. And he's gonna, in the next book, which is gonna come out next summer, still got a lot more work to do before he becomes the hero he wants to be. But I think he's gonna find out how to do that, and I think he may find out a little bit about his past and his family, and hopefully more people find out about him.
It's interesting, and people who pursue their dreams, you always wanted to write, and I think you got to us here at the Lincoln Center studio through our producer, Mary Gambo. I think you live near her in Jersey, and you found your way over to New York to be with us. The other thing is, you have your dream, you got to push it, you got to tell people about it, you got to self-promote, right?
Absolutely. You can't sit back. You got to get out there and hustle, and you got to just keep going.
We wish you nothing but the best. Keep writing, and when you have the new book come out, promise you come back here and talk to us. Either Jersey or New York.
Deal. Thanks so much.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center.